Hi everyone, welcome again on our weekly chat. Today we wanted to talk about a little bit different topic because we wanted to leave for a little bit this emotional spheres. We talk a lot of times about some turmoils that people are going through, or how to detach emotionally, and how do you overcome all these intense experiences in terms of heart space. But it was coming to us that we really need to focus a little bit more on a mental side of the connection and experience, because we see many people recently asking about this obsessive thinkings, or this like confusing moments, like the almost like a brain goes through some sort of experience. The whole mental state is somehow adjusting, and this is very often starting with the ignition and with the whole experience as a twin flame. So hopefully we can give you some tips today, as usual, by sharing our experience, but also welcoming other people's perspectives and questions and anything that comes to your mind. So
Yeah.
welcome again.
Hello everybody. Welcome again. I know that the connection with Paulina is a little bit kind of like it's breaking up, but stay patient because she's got a very good things for you today here. Yeah, we had this kind of like energies about to talk about this particularly topic. Just so you know that the obsession, particularly the obsession with the one person in there, can really make the things rough within yourself in there. Particularly that can lead to the anxiety, which is the anxiety is coming from this because you're constantly thinking about them. You're gonna be feeling restless, tense. You're like, what are they doing? How are they doing? What it is? What is that? And so on. And we're gonna be talking about also this energies of the brain fog. What is this? Because all of a sudden people come to us and it's like why I cannot function, what is happening in my life. Every time to my twin flame entering my world, then I have a lot of difficulties. I have a problem with the memory difficulties. I'm trying to get myself day to daily tasked to get it done. And why it's so harder? So from this to begin in there, uh, you need to look at it that that soon as you get ignited within this connection, this is a kind of like the difference between the soul connections the way it's supposed to be and the limerence, because the limerence is that portions of obsession. Now, if you're going through the form of the obsessions in there, the things are getting, showing you that you need to heal that. Okay? Either though the deliverance and the love, they're coming from the same root. It is about ignitions of love in there, can show you the causes in that. So part of deliverance is this obsessions about the person. And as you know, a lot of the people, when they ignite it, they're beginning to have this obsessive thoughts, thinking patterns about the twin flame constantly 24/7, because you're like, what is this? What is this love? What is this coming in and this? So we're going to be talking about first about obsessive thinking. So let's follow this situations in there, and let's go with that. All right, because you're gonna be understanding because we went through this road. All right, we're gonna give you bolts and nuggets here so we can be okay. If you guys have any questions during the talks or you have any topic, guys, feel free. Feel free to message us. Feel free to make a comments below the videos. It's about sharing in here. All right. So without ado, I'm giving you back the mic to Paulina.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Hopefully the connection right now it's a little bit more stable. It's pretty random, but I wanted to focus a little bit more, maybe answering these questions that people have is why does it happen? What does it mean that I'm thinking so obsessively? Why can't I focus on anything else? And with all of that, I'm just wondering for everyone, like, why would the universe orchestrated something like that, that it's really be occupying your mind 100% of the time to the point of exhaustion? So to me, it looks like finally in your life, you're gonna have an experience that will take over your whole focus. For some people, really, for like weeks, they cannot focus on anything else. And to me, it looks like this is one of the ways for entire journey to start you, maybe show you how we are constructed here, like how we are really forming our thoughts, that we are not our thoughts, that you are becoming more observer, because at some point, if that happens to you, you're gonna be asking yourself, like, why am I thinking that? Why am I thinking so much? So for many people, this is maybe the first experience they are questioning their thoughts, because they feel, oh, something went overboard. Like, normally we don't question our thoughts until the awakening, right? So you always have to cross some sort of a boundary to see that, oh, things went too far. I cannot function. My brain is taking over. Can I shut it down? What does it mean? On top of that, people will be adding this whole story that anytime the person comes to mind, it's a telepathy. This is messages, connection, and all of that. So instead of focusing on what does it mean in terms of your twin flame experience, I would rather say, what does it tell you about yourself, about your mental capacity to try to control what comes to your mind, or just at least to observe that this is not your natural state, that it goes to the point of overboard, as I said, it goes to the extremes. So we are balancing those extremes in a journey, and that's gonna be one of the extremes you're gonna be balancing. Of course, you have to use your mind sometimes, but it's like this is additional body or area that's getting adjusted during this period. And very often, especially when you begin this awakening process, you will have experiences that will be just shaking up all of those different areas. So that's why we talk so much about emotional bodies. But right now, I really wanted to focus more on the mental body, because it's not less important. It's just sometimes I think, especially on talking within spirituality, we put it in the background, and because it's too boring or we don't feel it, it's too much logic, let's not talk about it. But if you observe yourself, you will see how the ignition really is starting like a ripple effect that is gonna be observed on all the different parts of you. So it's gonna be, of course, like emotional turmoils, but also you will be changing your thinking process. But as usual, if something was constructed in the wrong way, there has to be major reconstruction happening. So that's why for many people, this experiences of a twin flame, they will be causing them very difficult mental states, almost to the point of a breakdown. So some people have to go through that. Like, we are going to depression modes. Like, people call it dark nights of the soul and different. But in principle, this is just really meaning to shake you up to the point that you can start reconstructing yourself, but more from this observer standpoint. Like, you see, like, you cannot go to extremes anymore. You cannot be obsessively engaged with anything anymore. You try to rebuild yourself with this new understanding.
Mm-hmm. This understanding. So a lot of the people, even some of the people, is like, why not guys not talking about the higher energies, the higher things, and the higher situations? Let me explain a little bit about why we are talking sometimes about these things. You as a twin flame in there, you're gonna be learning to practice it going into the shadow work. And let me a little bit be explaining about this. The deeper you go, the higher you're gonna move. You basically expanding rapidly in both realms. But if you look at within yourself, you're staying in the middle, and your magnetic field is expanding by you aware of understandings that goes on within you. All right. And when the things are rising up with particularly with the obsessive thinking in there, you are going to be looking at within the energies that um, been piled it up within you. Those gonna be the energies within lower self, and that obsession is coming because of you holding to something. While you need to understand that you have to lose what you're holding so you can grab what you need. If your hands are full, for example, if I want to get something else with my hand, I need to drop that cup. But I have to be aware of to put it on the table, not kind of like a drop it so it can go down on the floor and break it and spills everything. And this is a one of the things that the obsession begins to point out, to be aware of your consciousness in there in a mental process. It's like, wait a minute, what I'm doing. Wait a minute, what is it going on? Wait a minute with all these things in there. So that if that is not answered within you, you are gonna be going into this next stage, which is this the anxiety in there. Okay, that is a feeling the fear. All right, the anxiety comes of a fear of loss. You fear that you're gonna be losing them. You fear that the situation is not gonna be in there. Then the tense energies are coming in. You are restless. You're in the high vibrations, okay, because that kind of like this energy that you have never felt like this before, it's inside of you, but at the same time you feel restless. You getting in there for some reason. You're not even going to feel it in there because that obsession puts you in that state. But if you pay attention within the patterns, within the energies, you're getting a lot of stress because you are anxious about it. How it's going to be, what is it going to be, how can I control it, how can I make it? Okay. And a lot of the people don't sensing that because they are like, what is going on within me? You need to understand that those two paths of love and limerence, they can be very much separate within. Okay. So that anxiety in there can cause you problems at work, situations with people, friends, family. Anything can is always about. All right. But it is the mental body that you need to be taking a look at it within yourself. The mental body that does this processes, how you process the information, because the journey on the other end is going to bring you to the up. It's going to bring you to the good things that are happening. It's going to be giving you this kind of like a aha deja vu moment, those glimpses in there of how great that can be. So you see at the lower end, but you see at the higher possibilities. So you need to be able, those two, to put them together within you, make some little soup, and take what you need and keep what you have. So you can have a stable, great relationship because you're going to be stable. But when you're staying in an anxiety, when you're staying in these situations, when the fears are kicking in there, and now your mind is not there, you're beginning to have what we are going to be talking about even at this later on, talking about the brain fog. But I'm just going to give the mic back into Paulina about the anxiety because she has some bolts and nuggets for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, actually I was listening to what you were saying, and it looks to me that it's showing us, as you said, the lower road or potentially the higher road. Until we don't let go of this lower road, when it's those emotions are not sorted out, that we are feeding this connection with fear and anxiety, how it's gonna be, and it's just like, to me, you really cannot feel love towards other person if you're fearing of losing them. So it's very interesting to see how within those connections, like initially everything is beautiful, but then gradually, step by step, it's gonna be intermixed between fear and love. There will be moments that, oh, I love them so much. There's gonna be moments, oh, what if I lose it any moment? And it's gonna be just like a soup, as you said. But at some point, I believe in most cases we are getting overboard and fear takes over. Majority of the time it's gonna be fear, but ultimately it's manifesting, right? If you cannot get over it and you cannot get out of your mind and just really stop it and just observe and allow the universe to align if something got a little bit messed up on the way, and you will become more attached to the fear than actually to the experience, it's gonna fall apart. So that's the reason that why sometimes it's just too difficult for us to handle those connections for the first time, for the second time, any amounts. But it's just for us to sense this difference, to sense how it feels to be anxious within the relationship and how it feels to be out of your mind, to be in a state of peace. Very often people have this comparison just after they finally surrender and they just let go and they feel the bliss. They feel finally my mind can rest a little bit. I've done everything I could. It's done. Whatever it's meant to be, it's gonna be. But this is we are meant to be shown those differences because once you experience those two ends, you can decide what you want for yourself. Because very often, if the connection is fine and two people are mature and everyone is doing perfectly on the journey because they've done inner work, there will be some turmoil sometimes because it's necessary, but it's not going to be constant anxiety and fear. So it always starts from what is the dynamic in the first place. Healthy dynamics are very rarely to cause us like prolonged anxiety, right? Like it's gonna be feeling peaceful, it's gonna be feeling safe. This is very rare when we are talking about ignition states and people are just starting to awaken and they don't even know themselves. So that's the process that we're going through to get rid of the fear, but at the same time, we're gonna be including more peace into our life, into our connections, because we're gonna know how to build them from the proper ground. We're gonna choose this road. At the same time, if you know yourself, you know your values, you know your abilities, there's not gonna be so much fear about losing anything. Because at the same time as we are doing this and we are getting to know each other inside, you're getting to understand more about how the world is constructed. So you will see that we cannot really lose stuff here. It's just we don't own stuff here. So it's going to be bringing this more peaceful perspective that it's going to be easier for you to find yourself out in this world. So you're not going to be clinging onto something you really want to, will be welcoming and just going with the flow. But in the core, what's going to be happening, you're going to be learning how to build those relationships in the proper way, wishing yourself peace and just clarity, safety, and all of those things that you understood how the relationship should feel like. So, in the end, it's always about removing those fearful experiences, just trying to approach them from this space of more like experiment and openness and trust and surrender. So that's gonna be nice change for those who will decide to dive deep, really what's happening with their mental state, and not that much focus on another person and what does it mean in terms of is this like a sign? Are we connected? All of that, like you feel what you are supposed to feel, and you are thinking what you are supposed to be thinking. What do you do with that? It's most important. So.
Huh. Okay. I got some goodies right now here for you guys. Take a look at it, the ignitions in there. Take a look at it as we are talking about that the one takes the higher road, the other takes the lower road. The reason for the one takes the higher, the other takes the lower road, so they can both work together. But when you take in the things personally, when you take the things on that kind of like a levels of you want the things to be in a certain way instead of allowing it in there, you begin to have the conflict. So the one person who goes into the higher road, he doesn't see the shadow side. The one who goes in the lower road, he doesn't see the higher energies. Okay. And the problem is they have to learn to communicate. If they don't learn to communicate within peace, as Paulina said, you may gonna have some tough moments on there. You're not communicating in there for what the higher road presents and what the lower end presents. That's what is the purpose of you to bring those higher and lower roads union. Bring them together. But until you get the hermetic principles, what's upstairs, same things downstairs. Okay, because you both seeing it the same problem, the same issues, the same situations. The one sees from the maximum possibility, the other sees the negative possibilities. Okay, which is they are the faces of the same coin, which is you guys as a union in there. But if you personally has been choosing to watch only the one side of the coin, in there, as always, you're missing the other side, the other half. So now when you're missing the other half, you see the other half and it's like, oh, I want to have it, but you have a problems of accepting it, the other half. So the other half has always been within you. You're understanding those energies with this. And this is why the mental body is going to be telling you within you, wait a minute, I need to reconfigure things. I need to try to communicate. A lot of the people trying to communicate with the person. But when the person is in their ego or their inner self, whatever the inner self is, the inner self can be on the lower end or can be on the higher end. If it's too much to the higher end, they're like, oh, I'm dealing with the higher energies. God's gonna tell you. God's gonna show you. I cannot be in these lower energies in there. When you're in the lower energies in there, it's like, what is this going on, right? So until you don't learn it that this ignition is a primary to teach you how to really communicate in there, you need to reconfigure the mental state. And this is what's coming. And we've been talking about this over and over and over. You meet your twin flame, present the peace, peaceful energy. Because you understand that they are either in the higher and the lower end. You put the peace, they're going to be okay. When they feel the peace, they're going to be ready to talk about that. All right. They're going to be, doesn't matter each side of the up and down. Lindy Cowlink was saying, the one is going to take the higher road, the other is going to take the lower road. Okay. But if you both going into this lower and a higher road, the one jumps too high, the other goes too low, and all of a sudden the one it's progressing on a one level, the other it's progressing on a totally different level. But they see it in the same base situations from two different directions and there. But for the people who are going with this, I'm suggesting you check yourself out. Check your mental state. Check your positions in there. Are you strong enough? If you have issues, reach out to people. There is some, there's nothing wrong to reach out to psychologists. Okay? If there's nothing wrong to reach out to people who know what is going on, people you trust, people you can open in there, people who can understand you. Okay? Uh, Over the years, we've been seeing a lot of these situations. But when the mental body begins to reconfigure to the inner peace, now that inner peace is showing you that unifications. But if there is this kind of like a obsession and anxiety, guess what? It's coming right after. It begins to have the brain fog. You don't remember what was this all started in there. You don't remember certain things. You have a problem finding the words. You have overwhelming energies. It's like, oh my gosh, they just comes in and you can feel like you are crumbling. It's like, what is this? What is it going on within me? You may have some kind of like a crumbles within third chakra, that's kind of like the self energies that it's there. And this is leading you to those energies of the brain fog. You cannot see the vision, you cannot see the clarities because you're not in a peace. You wanted certain things to happen a certain way with your twin flame. You saw the possibilities, and now it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get it. but there is a work that needs to be done. And when you do this mental preparations within yourself, you need to put the mental body in that order. Okay, we have telepathy, we have this connection, we have this in there. Otherwise, you go through the one side or the other. Today they are good, tomorrow you're good, they are bad, and you go in and you play these games of the egos in there, battles, the inner battles that it goes on, and ultimately that connection is gonna be what? Either go south or it's gonna be dissolved because you don't know how to talk. So the mental body is gonna be like, okay, let's communicate, let's figure it out. If you figure out there is no communications, there is a silence in there, and so on, allow them to understand. You work on yourself as a inner work, okay? But don't be on this because if that interfere within your life, you need to be put your mental states in a proper ways, and hopefully this kind of like a video is going to help you guys here in the community with this as we sing about it. So back to you, Link.
Yeah, I was just reminding myself how it was not to remember what I ate for lunch an hour earlier. That's one thing. It's we were talking about those fears, but I remember those states were happening even in this very early stages where it was still, let's say, positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And what I believe is happening, it's just when you suddenly have all those energies coming towards you from higher dimension, all the dimensions at the same time, you really don't know how to process that. Like you have no idea what's going on for you. So many people will be really trying to find a way and answer if they are not going crazy. Because this is such a strong experience to this level. We're gonna be questioning our own sanity. So it's just another sign that we are adapting to those higher energies. We have contact with them to the moments of starting to awaken, right? So it's not our mental state and all those crises. They don't start with ignition. They start way before. Normally people take like a months or years before when they really start thinking about their journey, that things were coming way earlier, that things were not working, the pressures were increasing, depressive states were more common, and then the ignition started. So this is the whole picture that is coming here, that the ignition just happened at the time that you're mostly vulnerable. It's like a path of least resistance, that you just need a little spark just to create all those changes in you, because it's such a combination of everything, and all your bodies are going through this huge shift and this wave that's coming, and it's gonna be shattering, but then you're gonna be rebuilding. But there was something else I was meant to say. Maybe it will come later because it was a good one. But it's just in general, when you're adapting to those higher energies, all you can do is just to really give yourself a time to process those. Oh, I know what I was talking. When you were explaining how we are sometimes trying to bring those lower energies, higher energies all together, it came to me that we are really, as a society, we are just addicted to drama within the connections. We are, that's those are the templates that we saw from the past, from parents, that is even like in TV everywhere. Like this is just improper ways of building relationships are everywhere until you say I'm done with those. Because what happens is, like, very often we try to make a proper conversation, let's say with a person who is not ready, and they will either not talk to us, or there will not be two-sided communication, or there will be drama involved with that and nerves and everything. So we go to shutdown instead of saying, this is not the right thing to do, the things, this is not the person I can work with, like, I'm leaving. But instead we are going to these fearful states, and instead of us being the example of what the proper communication relationship should be like, we just prefer just to keep quiet, and we continue at the same templates, because the other part is simply not ready to do things the right way. So that's the issue, that we are keeping constantly ourselves in the state of fear, because it's still, keeping quiet is a little bit safer situation for us than actually leaving what is not meant for us and trying to build things the right way with the right people. So it will take a while probably, but I can see more and more people noticing that. And as usual, it starts from your ability to see that you're not fearful. Like you can manage to be on your own for however long it takes, that you can provide for yourself, that you're not in a situation just for the sake of having some shoulder to cry on. It's just you are on your own as long as necessary, and you're patient and you can attract whatever is meant for you by working on yourself. So those are all those understandings that will be coming to you once you start really taking a closer look on your mental experience, that it's okay to question those things and explore what was working, what is not, what is working, what you want to take forward, moving to the next steps. Because whatever you're always welcome to leave stuff behind. If something was working for 30 years or 40, it doesn't mean that you have to carry it all your life. You can just travel light. So hopefully that makes sense to some, that this is really our choice, how we want to build relationships. We are not judged. You are only judged by yourself. And it's very precious to give yourself this opportunity to build something that feels peaceful, that feels safe, because you're doing it for your whole body. You're not doing it only for your like earthly existence, but you're putting the proper ground to expand even further in the different dimensions. So
Yeah, so here's the advices parts that it's coming in this in there. The obsession can create aggravations that's gonna be affecting your relationships. That is coming from the codependency in there. So you need to understand that those connections, the drama, as Paulina said here, the drama and the trauma, they not have a space here. So you have to learn to mentally process in there within yourself, you to let them go. Okay. But at the same time, you're gonna have to learn proper ways of grounding, proper ways of processing the emotions through the mental state, so they can begin to start having the balance between your spiritual, mental, emotional body. You see, you're going to be learning to make these connections within. That's going to begin to be as aware of what do I feel, how I translate those feelings, and what is that spirit is telling me. And that is the evolutions of the twin flames that it's coming in. But within experiences that we're going to be sharing it up here, you all know about these hot waves when it comes in. It's like when you see a lot of the people out there, you also experiencing this. You see your counterpart that you're in connections in there, and all of a sudden, just the energy just like you get this intense energy. It's like oh, in there, and you getting that hot vibes. Or particularly when you're aggravated, that you're at home, for example, you're aggravated in them, you have so much of this, it's like, what is this going on? You are tossing, you're turning, you might throwing some things around. However, it's in your case in there, and because you cannot process it from emotional to a mental state, and you are stuck between emotional and mental, emotional and mental, emotional and mental in there, because your journey is to cross over through the mental, process on the mental level, then you go into the spiritual body. Okay, so proper grounding, number one. You can go ahead barefoot. You can go grab the hands with something that it's metal, that it's grounded in there. Shower. Shower, it's very healthy because it cleans the energy. One thing you don't know about it is that the water, when it comes down through you, the water comes from pipes that they already grounded. The water is also a conduit. Okay, so the water comes in, the clean water comes in you, it goes out through pipes. So it's also a grounding in there. Sleep commando, or be a commando for a little bit, if you know what I'm talking about in there. And that is going to help you to cool off the body, but also it's going to be able to help you to ground yourself out. Okay, so it can be able to getting these processes. And then looking at into the metal breaks. You're like, oh, I cannot do this, or I cannot do that. Go research it. The soul is gonna be screaming at you. It's like, hey, come on, process those mental levels. I'm waiting on this. We have to unify these emotions, mental and spiritual situations, so you can understand vibrations. So you can understand the vibes you're getting. You can understand the situations that goes on. You can learn about the universe. But you focus on the obsessions. You focus on this thinking about them. You have this anxiety and a brain fog, and you're not able to do it. And this is why most of the people having that stickiness within that twin flames journey as it is. But when you configure that part from emotional, mental, spiritual body, okay, your soul body in there, you're beginning to getting your vibrational body, okay, your vibes. You're beginning to understand it. The vibe's gonna be talking to you. You're gonna be learning the process. And then the thing she's gonna be start falling within you. You're putting everything that it's in order, because right now the order comes from soul, mental, and emotional body as one. And you begin to understand that before you go to the union, you have to unify those three within yourself. When you does that, that brings the inner peace. And now go with that inner peace around and see. You're gonna find out how people's gonna come naturally attracted to you. Why? Because you have it. You've done it. You've been there. Okay? So, darling, the connection's getting bad. You may have to redial.
Okay. I think we can just wrap up, or you can call me back, and then we can edit later and cut out.
I think that already wrapped up. You can just, I'm gonna move you out because you're like totally pixels out.
Okay.
But you can have this. You can have this audio because the audio is good in there.
All right. Yeah, we can put the picture later.
Yeah, I can.
Hopefully the rest is okay. You can hear me well.
Yeah,
Because it was coming to me when you were talking. It comes in stages. It comes from emotional stage, and then we have this mental stage that we have to overcome those to put them together. And it really looks to me, it's nothing else than what people call I'm divine feminine, I'm divine masculine, and I'm either or. And most people who begin to awaken, we begin to awaken through this emotional part. So we will be getting stuck on the label of divine feminine, which is more emotional and it has nothing to do with logic, and logic doesn't work with spirituality. You have to get out of your mind, blah blah blah. That's what people are repeating, forgetting that divine masculine has a trait that we have to embrace on our own, and we have to become those traits. So we see how from the F, or divine feminine, we become divine masculine. We learn both two parts, and that's how you unify them. And then that's how you increase your vibrations enough to actually capture also spiritual part of experience. But I really see it as a process, as you said, that it's you have just to bit by bit embrace both, not stop because someone labeled you once as part of something. It's like, yes, I have this part in me, but what else is there? I need to understand by my own logic what this experience is about. I'm not rejecting it, because if you try to get away from your mind throughout the experience, it's like you're rejecting part of the story, part of reality. our mental capacity is our bridge to our anchor in a reality between those words that we feel or what the intuition tells us, what's really happening in the reality. So many people, when they miss this bridge, this link, they will start becoming part of the very big traumas because they don't see the toxicity that's happening. They don't see the hurt that they are experiencing just by fully leading the experience from the emotional point. So it's almost like people are afraid to treat those experiences and those connections from this mental standpoint because they are afraid that they will see the reality and they will see it's unhealthy for them to continue this way. So it's a very strong, almost like a protection mechanism that we have in place, so, which keeps people attracted to the wrong people. Because actually, the more you understand from psychology, it can work miracles. And you see how many people are losing interest in someone once they understand that someone is hurting them just because they're not mature enough. But this is the whole like a mental process that has to be. Some people just don't want to go there because we are still living in the fantasies because it's beautiful, right? Like my heart feels it, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter that my logic says that something is very bad going over here. So hopefully it makes sense for people to not to be afraid to see the reality as it is and not to be afraid to dive into the mental part of experience as well. And again, maybe not always listening to some people who say, oh, you just have to feel it. Like the twin flame connection is only about feeling and it has nothing to do with mind. Proper spirituality is able to bridge all of them together and unify all of them together. So I think that's the road we should be trying to take, all of us, to get to those next stages.
One thing that I want to mention to you guys up here, that is the connections, if you take a look, between psychology, philosophy, spirituality. You need to understand that psychology issues in there, they're going to be working on how your psyche, which is your mental work, that it needs to be done. The philosophy, though, the philosophy can help you to put all these pictures together. You need to understand those three things. They are kind of like the divine trinity within you. Okay? Because you may feel the divine, but if you're not going through the process to accepting it in there through the philosophy, your psyche doesn't accept it, so things doesn't work. If you're highly spiritual, but you don't see that you have mental breakdowns and you have psychological problems, you're staying up there and you are doing the old things, but you're not seeing the psychological issues. And then the third part right there, it's the philosophy. Oh, you're talking, but you're not really getting in there. When you unify those three things together, you are going to understand that the one leads towards the others, and that all three coming and working together with you to bring it to the next one, to the fourth one. Okay, the actions, because you're going to be beginning to be aware of the actions, and then from the actions you understand the law of the karma. Whatever you do, that's what is going to come. Now you're beginning to have the awareness of consequences, which is the journey it's coming. And now you're going to be happy of everything that you do. But the mental body is the more needed, because it has to make that connection, the mental process, the mental breakdowns of the old things that you knew. But you're going to need the philosophy to help you to build the new mental body that it's going to be in there. But that comes in from what? From the spiritual body. And this is why the spiritual awakening, the proper way of the spiritual awakening, is gonna come into you. Okay? And when you are mentally strong to process it, in there, you're beginning to live your reality as who you are. It doesn't matter if you're, whatever the situations might be, you're going to be focused on the reality. And then that reality is going to be really beginning to create those actions within you that they're going to leading to what? To the evolution. Okay? It's going to have this curve of evolution. If you haven't seen this curve of evolution, it's starting a little bit lower, it's passing it, then all of a sudden it goes all the way up. You're beginning to evolve. And that's what you're going to be happy about the journey. Okay? But don't forget that that journey is going to come in, and here it's going to have this, again, this kind of like a stages, because you're going like this on the waves. Okay? Up and up and up. You're going through the dimensions. But again, everything is going to be depending of that particular things of the mental body. So you need to be observe yourself of obsessive thinking. You need to be looking at when you are anxious, why you have this anxieties in there, and you have to ask yourself, what is I have this brain fog? Why I cannot see things? Why can I look at the situations? What is this? Okay, because you don't have the connections within mental to emotional and mental and spiritual body within you. That's what the brain fog is, because there is an internal conflicts in there within yourself. But once you clear, once you unify them, then the things become what? Clarity. Okay? All right, guys. So if any of you have a questions, you guys can ask. If not, I think that's all I have for today, babe.
Yeah, I think that's we summarized it well. I'm sorry I lost my face and all of that, but yeah, it still looks like a very interesting process that we can just really help to navigate it better. As you said, like once you become unified, I still cannot see it. Like you have to go through major purge, and it's just fortunately it happens all at the same time. So once you go through that, you can start and you without prolonging it, right? Like just reach this lowest point and just go through this purge and cleanse and start building those things from the proper way. Yeah, I think that's the summary from me.
All right, guys. The video is very good. Sorry about the audio quality in there, no, the situations, but I want to say thank you for watching. We want to say appreciate it for everything you guys are doing, the clicking, the like, the shares, the subscribes, and we're gonna be coming in with more stuff for you guys. Okay, so you can message us out if you want something in particular we to talk about here. All right, guys. Be love, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.